they should have about a 35-second message so that we can possibly catch them in the loop. So that's one area where we might see some adjustments in that.
Well, and again, I think there will be no disagreement here between what I've said and what Art said in terms of, you know, alert and information and then reassurance. That initial warning may be more than the 27, you know, words, 9 seconds, 3 messages. The follow-up is where my world is the follow-up to that is then the 2793, and that's the messages that can either come through the mass notification, but especially through mass media and the public officials and those. I think that initial, I agree, that initial message should be detailed enough to get that information out. Yeah, yeah. I come in with the sound bites afterwards.
Art, do you have a follow-up comment on all that?
What they said?
In 9 seconds.
Yeah. Oh, do I have to take that long?
And 3 messages.
What Jay said, what Dave said, what Marissa said. No, I think that's exactly the point. And I'm not sure that the difference between 27 seconds and 35 seconds is really essential in any event. But one of the things we have to deal with a lot of times is audiences that, Botterell's fourth law of emergency management is that no matter who you train in advance, somebody else is going to show up. And this is likewise true of notification systems. We tend to think that we can overload notification systems, particularly things like sirens or buzzers, with a whole lot of additional meaning that we're going to train people to impart to that message. And of course, the difficulty is we have so much turnover that that's not always feasible. So I like to start from what I call the "what's that noise" response. That all we can really count on is getting people's attention that something unusual is going on, try to push them into vigilance, and then follow up with the informing side of the triangle. Again, a reason why you can't really deal with just notification systems in isolation.
I just have a comment. I agree with you as far as, San Bernardino, when we're talking alert versus public information, it's totally different. And based on the 500,000 evacuations that occurred in San Diego County in October 2007, as far as our protocol, because Art also says that it's not how you deliver the message, it's also what's in the message. And so our protocol is first to state who the caller is, provide essential information that empowers the recipient to make an informed decision and to take action, because as we all stated, you need them to take action. And then follow up with where they can get additional information, preferably written, of what you just stated. And so in our county, we're very fortunate to have a very robust 211 system. And so our public information is always encouraging residents for additional information to visit, either a website or call 211, and to not overload the emergency 911 system. So those 3 components, plus probably our public information specialist has more information, but I know as a duty officer, those 3 components, they have to be provided: who the caller is, the informed to make a decision, either to stay or leave if it's an evacuation, and then where to get the information again. Because a lot of times with the alerts, as you all know, callers, if it's 2 a.m., they might have missed the first part of the message, they're not sure who's calling, and on, or a child might have picked up the phone, that kind of, it can get a myriad of challenges, and I agree with your point.
And if I may add to that, I know we've got limited time, but San Diego County has also done, I think, some groundbreaking work in getting content onto the web very timely. And they have what do you call it? A hot site, a cold site?
It's sdcountyemergency.com, which only goes live when there is an incident, and it's part of our Joint Information Center. It just directly feeds the information, and all our printed messages that we send out on Alert San Diego are also posted on that website, so yeah.
Right. So anyway, I'd encourage you to pay careful attention to that because I think they've made some. There are a lot of challenges having to do with the origination of warnings. We tend to set up the problem in terms of, given a warning, how are we going to deliver it to a bunch of people? But then it turns out that the warning is not a given. And the creation of that warning gets into issues of policy, it gets into issues of fear, not among the audience, but among, you know, officials and people who are afraid of making a career-limiting decision in the absence frequently of a clear policy framework, and also gets into these questions of information sharing across jurisdictions. So, you know, the other thing I would encourage you to pay careful attention to is your processes upstream. You know, if you go back to Virginia Tech had a notification system on that awful day, and they didn't use it effectively. Because of some process issues they had, and because of some of the mythology about panic and cry wolf. And I have to demur a little bit. I was not endorsing either phrase. I won't take the time to do the complete denunciation here, but those are the wrong concepts. And if any of you want me to drill into that, I'll be eager to do so. But sorry.
That's much better.
Different special needs, one's deaf, when we have mobile handicaps, when we have brain injury campus. How are you dealing with notifications with them? And then how are you dealing with the issues of your students' English as a second language? And how are you getting notifications out to them?
I can say that, well, first of all, each of our campuses has an educational assistance center, the EAC group, that deals with all the students with special needs, disabilities, whether it's hearing impaired, sight impaired, and wheelchair-bound students as well. They don't address all students because not all students take advantage of the services. So that's one of the challenges, but we've been working closely with those offices to get feedback. For example, we have emergency phones, the blue light phones, all of our campuses, and the ADA requirement to be no higher than 48 inches, and we found that most of the ones that were installed years ago were way too high and they're recessed, and so we do walkthroughs with them and things of that nature. So we've opened a dialogue. We just went live with our system for the mass notification 2 months ago, so we haven't had to use it. So we're developing a protocol to work with them, and they're giving the feedback that for the hearing impaired, that the tech system is going to probably meet the needs there. And as far as the sight impaired, we haven't addressed that specifically, but we're relying on the people that know how these students operate and kind of what their special needs are. As far as the ESL, we have not even addressed that yet. We do have the ability with our website, since it's content management, to host both English and in typically our campuses, our demographics would be Spanish, but we haven't done that. Again, we haven't had an emergency to post information, but the ESL offices are people that we also work with. So we're still in the development stage of that, so I can't say that we have the answers there.
This is a great question to wrap up all universities and colleges. We are a multi-campus. I think we have 15 major sites within Orange County. And so the notification issue is always a question right now as we're moving forward. We're still in a very preliminary stage with it. But if it's campus specific, then you push out that information from the campus. But if it's a large event like we participated in the Golden Guardian exercise, we have multiple levels of information that need to be pushed out. And I'm sure this is more of an administrative issue and more of an IT, is at what level, who pushes what information out, and can you have multiple sites push out their information while you still have your district site, and additionally push information out? And these are some of the challenges that we're addressing, and I don't know if we've gotten to that point yet.
Well, one thing we decided early on was to empower the campuses to be independent. They each have their own public information officer. Of course, they have an office of the president. And so there's a limited group that can actually send out all users' emails and the text message alerts, things of that nature. Again, we're going through our first table talk in a couple of weeks. We're going to do it at each site, but one of our concerns was that we did it all centrally from the district office, because I know you've got multiple sites. We also have satellite facilities as well, so we needed to make sure that campuses can function on their own, the ability to just say the earthquake hits or chemical spill, whatever it might be. They're on the ground, they're on the campus. They have the information before we do, so we didn't want to have to set up a bureaucracy and multiple layers where they got to come through us to get messages approved. We did find with the incident where the student brought a gun on campus, again, we didn't have our systems completely alive at that point, that the public